Oh, that's good there, Fury. Ransom go right. Maybe just rolls it a bit tighter, but it still lands. There from Wilder. Good left hook as well from Wilder.
Oh, it's gone down. He's gone down. He's gone down.
Today's Top Boxing News.
D'ailleurs, peut-être un peu plus chez Viviane.
Et là, il va se
Tyson Fury had this to say: I beat Wilder 10-2. Highly impossible to win overseas. He claimed the deal was necessary to protect himself after going to a draw with Wilder. I've done everything I had to do. I won the fight quite clearly. 10 rounds to 2. If you're not going to win on 10 rounds to 2, then it's highly impossible that you're going to win overseas, Fury told GQ magazine. Maybe if I win 12 out of 12, I might get another draw. Who knows? Wilder needs to improve drastically. I had fun in there. If that's hell, it's not a very scary place. Yeah, he's the hardest puncher in the world, but you don't really feel the punches when you're in a boxing fight. I think your adrenaline's pumping that much and you're in the moment. You don't feel them until the next day, really. You see everything. If you focus on your opponent, getting hit is part of the job. That's it. You get hit by a big heavyweight in the right place and you go over. Simple as that. As far as Fury's next opponent, that is up in the air. Several names have been kicked around like Joseph Parker and Kubrat Pulev. Fury is not concerned with the opponent. He's willing to fight anyone. I'll just fight anybody. The local binman. Anyone as long as I can keep active and keep busy, Fury said. It's not the boxing that drives me. It's the training. When the boxing's done, I will always continue to train and keep me well, mentally and physically. I thought it was the boxing that does that, but I've realized it isn't. It took me a long time to figure that out. 20 years. And in this article, we're gaining further insight as to what was going on in Tyson Fury's mind when he decided to make a deal with Top Rank, to make a deal with ESPN, a deal that jeopardized his rematch with Deontay Wilder. That a part of the reason that he decided to do that was, well, he felt that he got robbed, and he's not alone in that sentiment. If you go back, you know, there were a lot of people that were saying they scored the fight for Tyson Fury. I mean, Paulie Malignaggi, a guy who's widely revered for his no-nonsense approach when it comes to the boxing, a guy who's widely revered for his honesty. This is what he had to say in regards to the Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder fight.
Do you think that that was a power move for Top Rank and Tyson Fury? Was it a block move to, I don't know, kind of like block Wilder from getting a rematch and making a ton of money? How do you see it?
I think it was a power move for sure. I mean, I think Top Rank and Tyson Fury made a power move, absolutely. The only blocking that was done was when they robbed Fury. If you don't rob Fury, you have the rematch clause automatic. It's locked in and it's sealed, you know? If you don't rob Fury. Fury wins that fight, there's a rematch clause. You know, so the only blocking was done when they robbed Fury because they left the door open for this guy.
Oh, so you think they left
the door open? They left the door open for this guy to go wherever he wants to go and needs to go. Yeah, everybody knows they robbed. Yo, bro, once you leave the United States like I have, there's not a guy on this planet that thinks Wilder won that fight. You know, I'm starting to break through. You know
in this short clip, Paulie Malignaggi, who is widely revered for his honesty, he's addressing several issues that I touched on right here on the channel. How one, you know, the vast majority of people around the world are of the opinion that Tyson Fury won that fight. And I know that opinions are like assholes, everybody's got one. But that doesn't change the fact that the vast majority of opinions in regards to this fight around the world seem to be that Tyson Fury won that fight and he got robbed. That really wasn't a draw. Even with Wilder's 2 knockdowns, that's not enough to make the case that this should have been called a draw, much less that Wilder won the fight. Because there are those people out there that are saying that, but those guys are so far gone that you shouldn't even spend the brain cells dissecting the fight with those. I mean, it's just a waste of time. Likely, those are Wilder's biggest fans, and he can do no wrong, yada, yada, yada. We've been there, we've done that. The point is, Paulie Malignaggi addressed several issues in that short video, and I think the most pressing issue that he addressed is, had a victor actually been determined, if the right man would have won the fight, then the rematch clause that both fighters agreed to, it would have still been in effect, and it could have been used to guarantee a rematch to guarantee that the next time we see these two guys, it is going to be against each other. But the fact of the matter is, the judges called it a draw. Now, there are some people, like myself, that feel that Wilder was the beneficiary of that draw because it looked a lot like he lost that fight, but he was the beneficiary of that draw. But here's the kicker. Because it's a draw, that does free up Tyson Fury from his contractual obligations. Had there been an outcome, had someone won and someone lost, then the other would have been bound to give the loser a rematch. But there was no loser. They called it a draw.
Remember?
Wilder got lucky enough that they called it a draw. So he remains undefeated, quote unquote. But that does come at a cost, and the cost that it comes at is basically your rematch clause, it's voided. Your rematch clause is only in effect if someone loses. Nobody lost. So since nobody lost, Tyson Fury really don't gotta fight you next. And the fact of the matter is that aside from ESPN and Top Rank incentivizing a situation for Tyson Fury to cross over to their side of the street, aside from the money, aside from the fact that maybe Wilder versus Fury in terms of revenue was not a big enough fight to Tyson Fury that he should walk away from a potential deal with Top Rank and ESPN. Those things aside, it's almost like people forgot the controversy after the fight. That, there were a lot of people saying they felt Tyson Fury won that fight, and Tyson Fury himself felt that he won that fight, that he should have got the decision. But he didn't.
You can't see how that might affect things?
So hindsight being 2020, we can see how that might have affected his decision-making process ahead of the rematch. That I'm going to go in there with this guy again, and I'm going to fight him again in his backyard.
Again.
He wouldn't come to the UK to fight me. We're doing everything on his terms.
Again.
I'm going to walk into the same situation that I feel raw about because I feel that I actually won the first fight. I'm going to walk into that again for this amount of money when I can go over there to Top Rank and ESPN and make more money and make myself the A-side in negotiations. I can garner my own marquee value stateside. What I'm going to try to do is situate myself in such a way that this won't happen to me again because I feel, and a lot of other people feel as well, that I won this fight. Essentially, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a Deontay Wilder fan, so be it. And if you think somehow the draw was justified, or even that Wilder won the fight, so be it. Guess what? There's another side of that argument. There are a lot of people out there, including Tyson Fury, that don't agree with your opinion. And you can try to tune out all those teeming masses out there that feel that Tyson Fury won the fight. You can try to ignore them. You can dismiss their take on the fight. But what you can't dismiss is that Tyson Fury himself, the man who walked into this fight with every conceivable disadvantage, the man who proved me wrong, you understand? Because I didn't even know if I should trust that this fight would come off. Tyson Fury himself walked into a situation with every conceivable disadvantage, and he did so in hostile territory. So I have no reason to question this man's heart ahead of a rematch. I don't think he walked away from the rematch for fear of Deontay Wilder so much as he felt raw about the decision. And in light of feeling raw about the decision and having Top Rank and ESPN offer you buku dollars to come over there and play with them, I can see what led to what he did. I can see how that became possible. I can see why Tyson Fury might have looked at that and said, you know what, fuck Wilder. Y'all robbed me in the first fight, you're probably trying to rob me again, and I'm only going to make a couple of dollars with you guys when I can go over there, make all this money without you motherfuckers trying to rob me. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, in regards to Fury's move to ESPN, Wilder says, Fury is a boring fighter. Nothing in America without me. The thing about it is, I'm the key, said Wilder, who has knocked out 95% of his opponents. I'm the puzzle piece to it all, especially when it's dealing with America. Fury is nothing here in America. If my name ain't attached to his, he's a boring fighter. The only good thing about him is his mouth. He just talks. That's it. And the only reason we like it is because it makes us laugh. Because of the accent. That's about it. Other than that, every time they come and see this guy fight, he's got one of the most boring styles in the heavyweight division. Once they see that style being displayed, that's gonna be it. That's it. With my style, I'm an exciting fighter.
And why'd you need him?
I'm one of the most exciting fighters in the division because of my knockout power. People know when they come to see Deontay Wilder, it's more likely that you're gonna see someone get knocked out. And that's why people come to see me. At the end of the day, they don't want to see people get hurt, but they do want to see how a human body lay once it gets punched in the face. And Deontay Wilder's delusions of grandeur really know no bounds. Somebody needs to ask this guy, if you're as exciting as you say you are, if you're the missing puzzle piece as you say you are, if you are the key as you say you are, why is it that your own handlers didn't put you in a pay-per-view situation up until it involved that boring fighter, as you say? Deontay Wilder has more fights than Tyson Fury, more fights than Anthony Joshua, and yet it took him more time than them to participate in a pay-per-view of any kind. Think about it for a second, fellas. Think about it. Tyson Fury had the fight with Vladimir Klitschko, and you can feel however you want to feel about the aesthetic of the fight, whether or not you were entertained. But regardless of how you feel about the entertainment value, that was a bigger situation than anything that Wilder had done, and Tyson Fury had reached that point long before Deontay Wilder came into it. The same applies to Anthony Joshua. These are guys whose handlers felt confident enough to put them in big situations far sooner than it took Wilder's handlers to put him in any kind of a situation. I mean, if Fury is as boring and all that jazz, if he's all those things, then why did your handlers wait up until he got involved to put you in a pay-per-view?
Should've been did that.
If you're the key.
According to you.
If you're the key and he's just some boring fighter, then why the fuck did you give him half the pot?
50-50.
He's just a boring fighter, right? They all here to see you. So if they just here to see you, why are you giving him 50%? We know why. Because you can't carry these things on you. You know, your handlers don't feel. They haven't felt that you could carry a pay-per-view on your own. Given the kinds of guys you were fighting, I don't blame them. What, they were going to make the Stavern fight a pay-per-view? What, the Areola fight? The Spilka fight? What? Seriously.
Why'd they wait for Fury?
But somehow in Deontay Wilder's mind, he's the missing puzzle piece. He is the key.
Okay.
And yet, the two heavyweights in the division, who he's got the biggest bone to pick with, are both making more money than he is.
In America.
Stateside, mind you, stateside. Anthony Joshua is set to make a career-high payday in Wilder's backyard. Tyson Fury is going to be raking in buku dollars in Wilder's backyard. But to Deontay Wilder, in his mind, he is the missing puzzle piece. I think the missing piece is in his brain, and somebody needs to put it back. Because this guy, he's just got a bad habit of not making any kind of fucking sense. Look, if Tyson Fury were all the things you say he is, you guys wouldn't have went as far as you did to get him in the ring.
Y'all gave him half the pot.
If Tyson Fury with his boring fighter that don't nobody like and all of that, that only makes you look worse for needing him, because you needed him to stage this as a pay-per-view. Otherwise, you would have been on pay-per-view a long time ago, but you wasn't, were you? You wasn't. They didn't put you on pay-per-view. They didn't want to put you on a pay-per-view till Tyson Fury got involved.
Then it was okay.
And that fight is only made that fight was only made possible because he was willing to take the risks. He was willing to take a chance because he decided to bite the bullet. Not Deontay Wilder. Tyson Fury was the one with all the disadvantages ahead of that fight. He was the guy who hadn't faced an elite opponent in a very long time. He was the guy who had battled cocaine addiction and obesity. He was the guy that was on the comeback trail. But he made the decision that he wanted that fight, and he made it possible because he was willing to take it. What did Wilder really risk fighting an opponent under those circumstances? What risk was he taking ahead of the fight? Because it looks to me like Tyson Fury took all the risks. Hell, he even met you in your backyard. And you were expecting him to do that again a second time after having robbed him. Let me tell you something. Tyson Fury really don't got the most fan-friendly style. Now, that bit of it is true. That Tyson Fury's style is more of an acquired taste that only true boxing snobs can appreciate because he's a pure boxer. He is completely hit and not get hit, defensively minded kind of fighter. That bit of it is true. But even that may not stifle his progress in the United States, and here is why. You've got to pay attention to the move in its entirety and what side of the street that puts Tyson Fury on. That's saying that Tyson Fury and him being on that side of the street, it invites all kinds of scenarios to the realm of possibility that as Tyson Fury, he starts having his own cards. You got to remember who else is on that side of the street with him. It just so happens that Top Rank has a pretty strong hold over the light heavyweight division. They got a lot of big players in that weight class. And it's conceivable that as Tyson Fury starts to have his own cards, what they might do is decorate his cards with those light heavyweights. That in turn will spice up the card and help sell the fights. So whether you're entertained by Tyson Fury's style or you're not entertained by his style, you may still have reason enough to view his cards.
It's possible.
Because of who he's on the same side of the street with. But in the case of Deontay Wilder, you really do gotta ask, where does he go from here? Because if it's not a pay-per-view, and it's not a big payday, then it's Wilder who's taking a step backwards, and it would appear that it's Wilder who needs Fury. I mean, be honest with yourselves, guys. If he does end up fighting Dominic Breazeale next, which is the logical choice, but if he does end up fighting that guy next, what kind of a payday do you think he stands to make from that fight? Do you think he's going to make a payday comparable to the one he just had with Tyson Fury? That was supposed to be his biggest payday. The pay-per-view itself was a mild success, but as it stands, that was Wilder's biggest payday. So anything beneath that would be a step backwards, wouldn't it? And if you don't need Tyson Fury, and you're the most exciting guy, as you say, then why are you the one taking the step backwards, and why is he the one taking a step forwards? And why is it that not but 14 or 15 hours ago, reports were being released where Shelly Finkel, Deontay Wilder's manager, is now reshifting the focus back to Anthony Joshua? Why is it that Wilder's team is taking so many steps backwards? And, you know, it's an easy answer. They spent all that time talking up the Tyson Fury fight and the subsequent rematch, which now isn't happening. They spent all that time talking that up to the media, to the boxing fans, and they might not want to admit it. They might not want to show their cards. But it has hindered their progress that Fury has pulled out on them. So now, y'all got no choice but to reshift the focus back to Anthony Joshua, because that's your best bet to be involved in a big fight. You know, PBC's got a lot of good heavyweights there for Deontay Wilder to fight. It would be dishonest of me to say that they don't have anyone for him. They've got some guys over there for him, but it would still be a step backwards. I've said it before and I'll say it again. None of those guys present an equal to or greater than value than what Wilder just made with Tyson Fury. And they're nowhere near
The value.
You know, they pose nowhere near the value of an Anthony Joshua fight. So it's not that Wilder doesn't have options, it's just that those options are nowhere near as lucrative as what he wants. The bottom line is this, ladies and gents. Wilder might sit there and say whatever the fuck he feels like it, but the numbers themselves, they don't lie.
They're not going to.
You and your team have effectively painted yourselves into a corner. You sought to freeze out Anthony Joshua, and for all intents and purposes, it seems like you've been frozen out yourselves. Joshua's moved on. Fury's moved on. So where does that really leave you? Where does that leave Deontay Wilder, who seems to have thought that he was taking a step forward only to end up taking 2 steps back?